Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 26th, 2026, 7 p.m. regular board meeting. Call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Tonight's roll call, we have everybody in attendance. And item number one, can I get a motion for adoption of the agenda?
Move to adopt the agenda.
Second. Is that Tom?
Mhm.
Yeah. Thank you, sir. All in favor? Yeah, it's unanimous. Okay, any announcements from anyone tonight? How about your spring fair too? Go ahead, Linda.
There's going to be, CTK is going to be having their Easter egg hunt, I believe, on the 4th of April here. It's a really good event. They separate things for kids of different ages, so little kids can have all the fun they want and they're not intimidated by older kids. It's usually a fantastic turnout, so I hope everybody with families hopes to attend.
Linda, do you know what time that is?
I'm not sure, I just looked real quick, it was on one of the member pages.
Okay, awesome, so we can find that on our member pages. Any other
Okay.
announcements?
There's trivia in the barn, we missed that one, that was last week. So the spring fair is coming up and I don't see it on here. Oh, here it is, Saturday the 28th. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch up here. Starting from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. in the dance barn. So it's a new event, so hopefully we'll have some great attendance. I'm sure there's gonna be some really fun things there to purchase for gifts. Or for yourself.
Awesome.
There's a ukulele music happening there at the fair.
Oh, nice.
45-minute show.
For what? Oh, the blues, you said?
The ukulele club.
Nice. They're gonna be at the spring fair?
Yeah.
Nice.
There'll be background music.
Yeah. Very nice.
That's fun.
Any other announcements? All right, hearing none. Move on to property owner comments. Do we have any property owners want to make comments tonight?
Yes.
15 minutes total, you know the drill, 3 minutes each, so.
Right.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi. Hi. Okay, so, I'm glad that the Long Range Planning Committee has been involved and that you made the presentation timely, that although you said you weren't, but that you made it, so that was good.
Mhm.
Well, Sean made it.
Sean made the presentation.
Yeah. Kind of feeling it's your proposal though, but that's okay. And I'm, as a dog owner and as somebody that uses the dog park every day, I'm still not happy with what was proposed. I think that it doesn't really take into consideration the needs of a lot of people in a lot of shareholders in our community. Number of dogs, I don't know. I do know that one street that I walk every day, I walk Lost Lake Lane, and so I counted houses, there's 32, and I know there's probably around 15 dogs in those 32 houses. There are a lot of dogs here. And yes, not everybody that has a dog uses a dog park. I know, Jean, your dog doesn't like the dog park. That's fine.
No, it's not, there are other reasons, but yeah, you're right, we don't use dog park.
You don't use a dog park. My dog loves the dog park. She goes there every day. She really loves it. And a lot of people do that. What's happened with a lot of people. I was glad to see that you're gonna have a community survey. I don't know if this survey will be taken and counted before this proposal is put in motion, or if you will wait to get feedback from the community before you move forward. You can tell me or not tell me, I don't know. I saw you added dog park on the list of amenities. So it says off-leash dog park. I could tell it was added because it doesn't have numbers. Off-leash dog park, that's great. I do have a question as to why you added, does your household include a dog? Doesn't say do you have pets. It's like, does it include a dog? And I will tell you that with the current feeling that I get from a lot of people on the board, Tammy, I know dogs are not your favorite. You don't really
I don't have a problem with dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not engaged.
I'm not sure I want to tell you I have a dog. I don't know if there's going to be like a big X on my house. She has a dog. she wants the dog park, she doesn't want, anyway. I think maybe to not be prejudiced, you should say, does your household include pets? If that's really necessary for you to know. I don't know what the reason was behind asking, does your household include a dog? I think you will get feedback from people on the list of what amenities are important. How satisfied are you with the upkeep? What's important to you? I think
That's your time.
That's fine. And maybe somebody else will give me their time. I don't know if they will. I'll jump back up here.
Oh, you can have one.
Oh, all right. Well, I'll jump back up. There's other people that want to talk.
No,
Do you make a comment?
Oh, I was just reading for myself, as a member.
Go ahead. I'll get back up there with Robin and Sandra.
Okay, folks, Linda Bradley, 5 Wisteria Lane.
I know we did.
I'm doing this because I've listened as a board member to a lot of people, and we normally don't reply, but I also have gathered information, and for that reason, I'd like to read this. I've listened to several members requesting having users be part of the discussion for the fencing of the dog park area. What I haven't heard is anyone referring to County Code Chapter 604, Animal Control Regulations regarding dogs in Whatcom County. The chapter has provided dog guidelines in Sudden Valley for years. Dogs must be licensed and kept under control. Owners are responsible for cleanup, leash compliance, and preventing nuisance behaviors. To comply with these laws, the Board of Directors is responsible for determining how best to ensure the association is compliant. Leash and control laws. In unincorporated areas in Whatcom County, all dogs are considered under dog control zones. Dogs must be under control at all times, meaning they are restrained by a leash or otherwise kept in the owner's immediate proximity to prevent trespassing, chasing, or annoying people, animals, or vehicles. The chapter has been enacted for the welfare of the public as a whole. Dogs may not jump on or threaten people in public areas. Dogs should be leashed unless in designated off-leash exercise areas. Currently, there is no ability to contain dogs using the off-leash dog area in Sudden Valley. The beginning of our rules and regulations of Sudden Valley states, it's Chapter 6, Pet Regulations. Sudden Valley has been declared a dog control zone, and these regulations are supplementary to those of Whatcom County. And you can go in, read in our rules, and see what it all says, but it begins by calling and referring to Sudden Valley as a dog control zone. Until Sudden Valley fences off the off-leash dog park, we are violating county law. It's why attempts have been made to ensure we're protecting the marina area for those who wish to use the marina other than the off-leash dog area. I've seen owners opt not to use the off-leash area and have their dogs on a leash while using the marina park. Unfortunately, I've also witnessed owners coming from their cars with dogs off-leash and running through to the off-leash area despite signs clearly requiring dogs to be on leash. The disregard for this rule demonstrates a disregard for others using the park. I hope by being informed of county code that going forward, owners are mindful of the control zone for our association and that fencing the area only brings us into compliance with county laws while allowing dogs and their owners to have an area for exercise and access to the water, but prevents nuisance behaviors to others enjoying the park that currently exists. Woof to you!
She's barking at you.
Thank you, Linda.
Thanks, Ron.
Any other,
Barbara, you can have mine next time.
Oh, okay, I have 6 minutes.
3 left?
You want to go sit over there?
yeah, well,
Okay, so as far as fencing off, I don't think anybody has a problem with fencing off, make the playground, make sure the kids don't get run over. And I agree with Linda that when people get out of their cars, they need to leash their dogs and take them to the off-leash area. And it's a problem, and that's something that needs to be addressed. I think if we follow the rules that we currently have, things would be a whole lot better. I also think that people need to pick up their poop, whether it's in the neighborhood or in the park. And I do believe there is a $40 fine if we don't, if you don't. So I would encourage people, if they ever see anybody not do it, take a picture, send it to the office, say, hey, take $40 from this person because they didn't pick up their poop. There was a couple of springs ago, 4 of us went out there and we cleaned the whole park. We picked it all up. Put extra signs around that said, pick up your poop. And I think dog park users would be happy to continue to do that on a regular basis. I understand there are other people that want to use other areas, want to do other things in this park. My concern is the amount of space that you're requiring to do that, which are seasonal activities, versus the amount of space you're leaving. I'm not sure how you came up with the divide. It's not like evenly divided. So with leaving a smaller area for year-round activity. So maybe in the future, if we have a question and answer, somebody can explain that logic to me. It doesn't make sense that this is not Southern Florida, this is not Southern California, this is Sudden Valley. This is Pacific Northwest. We have many, many rainy days, many, many cloudy days. Dog owners don't care. They go out there with their dog, rain or shine. Volleyball, people are gonna care. People who are playing horseshoes are gonna care. They're not gonna do it in the cloudy and the cold and the rain. So that's one point. And I don't know, I understand. I understand that we want to make a space for other people to do other things. I don't understand the allotment. It doesn't make sense to me. The division of what this proposal claims is needed for these other activities that happen in a 2 or 3 month period. It doesn't make sense. It just really doesn't make sense. So here's something maybe you can think about. Maybe it'll help you kind of understand where I'm coming from. If you don't have a dog, you never go out there. But you like to golf. A lot of people like to golf, right? What if I were on the board, we had a meeting, and I said, we really need more park area. We really need more area. I've got two.
We've already let you have twice. I mean, it's 3 minutes per person. I think we were fair giving you 6. I think it's time for someone else.
She got my time and some.
Yeah, but it doesn't really work that way. So, I mean, I get the generosity, but I think 6 minutes is more than fair, Barbara. We've given you, and you've had, time before, so I think we need to move on.
Well, I don't agree, but since you're sitting in that chair and I'm sitting over here, I have no power, which is another one of my points, and so I'll sit down.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Are you all right? Oh. And who are you?
My name is Lori Robinson. I'm at 40 Valley Crestway, and I'm speaking here as a 22-year resident of Sun Valley. I was a user of the dog park. I have dogs. They're not good dogs. I have bad dogs. And I have attempted with many of my dogs to use the dog park, and they absolutely loved it. What I didn't love is having to chase them around the golf course because there was no way to confine them, and they took off. So we used it one time with each dog, and that was it. My son does use the dog park when he comes to visit. He's got a 45-pound dog, loves it, no complaints. He uses other dog parks around the county as well. So I'm a lover of dogs. I don't hate dogs. I love dogs, but I also love what we had and what I hope we can get back to. And I'm only here really talking about the Marina Park. So I remember the park with picnic tables and baseball practice there and picnics in the pavilion and active basketball games going on and kids playing down at the shoreline much more than 2 months out of a year. Maybe, you would get them even on a nice sunny day in the winter. So it is utilized more than just the summer months, especially when baseball season used to come around and teams would practice down there. And they can't now because you have interference from the dog park, which has creeped over it and over. So I put out there a post and took my own little survey, and I asked families only about the use of the Marina Park. If there was improvements, such as what's been sort of presented with volleyball court, horseshoes, a beach area that was a safe place for them to go, play equipment, all that, would they use it? People who aren't using it now, would they use it? Overwhelmingly, yes. It's not, and again, anyone who's tried to address the dog park, I pushed them away from that. But it's like, but we did get some comments. I don't have younger kids anymore, but after my child's incident with an off-leash dog created a huge fear of dogs for my child. Okay, I also had an encounter with off-leash dogs down there with my grandchildren. Another one, if there's a picnic area and a swimming area, and it was fully accessible, yes, I would use it. I can't read all of them. We would use it. We love the Sun Valley amenities and would be happy to see our community expand them. After all, our home values also benefit from them. We consciously bought into Sun Valley partly because of the amenities, as did I. Our family would use it, and we bought in Sun Valley for the amenities. My kids, husband, and I would certainly use it. We don't have dogs, but we would love to go down swimming, but I can't because of the dogs. So I think we can come up with a solution that will make everybody happy, and just, there is a very silent majority that's not speaking right now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I played baseball for 40 years. I coached and I umpired on the international level.
So can you have your name?
I'm sorry.
Your name?
My name is Seth Gorman. I've been here 25 years. I played baseball, I coached and umpired on the national level for 40 years. I think that there would be, you put a serious ball team out there, given the condition of the ground, you would have and deserve an infinite number of lawsuits from everybody out there. That place is a perilous hazard and nobody bothers with it. Now you have dog users out there every day. I'd like to see at least to see the comparison between the use there and the use on the golf course on these nasty, rainy, cold days. It's always used. And remember, you can build it out in any way you like, but you're not going to be able to park down there come spring because of all the outsiders who use our facilities now, completely unlike the first 15 years I was here. There's just no room. I go down there all the time in the summer trying to let my dog out in the park. I can't get up the parking space. That should be dealt with immediately. That's where you need fencing and you need some kind of security system. I think that kind of improvement is really justified. And I think everybody would agree with that. AM, PM beaches used to be something residents could enjoy on a regular basis without having to go out before dawn. And I don't know why, except for that report that was done 7 or 8 years ago, requesting that we monetize the dog park. I don't know why this keeps coming up. I don't know what the emphasis is. I don't think there are hordes of people clamoring to go to that park. And I don't think anybody would mind if there was some separation with the swimming area. The dogs don't go over there. Fine, I understand if your child has been intimidated by a dog, you want some kind of separation. That's fine. I think that the dog people support that. I don't know what the demarcation is for this new system, but I think that you would get very reasonable support from the people who are out there every day. And you're right, we should be leashing our dogs, taking them from our car to that area. No question. But I also tell you this, I'm out there a lot. I'm out there all the time with my dog. And it's amazing that I don't come home with things that I need to scrape off my feet. because people have been so good about picking up after their animals.
Thank you for your time, Seth. All right, is that it? All right, thank you all very much, appreciate your comments. Okay, moving on to item number 4 is a consent agenda for the meeting minutes for February 26, 2026. Those were sent back for corrections,
Yeah,
were
there's
those
still-
corrections adequate or no?
There's still a couple little things. So we should be able to do this with, and Linda, I think I got them. There might be another one, but on the, February 26th, number 8, it says motion coming out of consecutive session, and it should be executive session.
Maybe consecutive and executives.
Yeah, consecutive executives. Was there another one that I missed on that one, Linda?
I think that, there's only the one.
Okay, and then on the March 12th, in reports number 6, and it says, in some clarification, it should say language, there's an N missing, it's a typo.
Did you see that one, Joanne? Hang on, which one is it?
What are you talking about?
Under reports
What
for
page?
nominations and elections, it is page 2.
Page 2.
Oh, I see.
It says, the N's just missing, it's just a typo there. And then, was there another one, Linda?
Okay, you're gonna go up to number 4, consent agenda. The motion says move to approve the minutes of the February 12th, 2026 meeting. It's February 26th of the 2026 meeting.
Mine says 26.
Mine says 12.
Oh, weird.
So did mine.
There were several updates to the meeting
Oh,
minutes.
so it did get fixed, so it was,
Yeah.
okay, so, yeah, mine
And the
says
only other-
February, that's what I was.
Go ahead, and the only other thing I had is, so on number 7, safety, we brought her forward. However, we also approved her. If you look at how number 5 was written, when DeVolio was put forward as a new member, and then it says, and was approved by the board, it probably should say the same sort of language for safety.
Okay, we'll just change that the language to the
Yep,
exact
that's it.
same. Okay,
Bitty things.
all right,
You know those?
Yeah.
Did you? Okay. All right, make a motion to approve the meeting minutes, the corrected meeting minutes for February 26th, 2026 and March 12th, 2026. That's corrected. Motion, I need a second.
Second.
okay, you can do it, Linda.
All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. That was Linda, correct?
Yeah.
And it's for the corrected meeting minutes, corrections. Okay, moving on to reports, we have none this evening. So we're on to item number 6, which is continuing business. Is there any committee business tonight?
I think the only thing I have is NNE is gonna meet on the 30th. Hopefully, we're going to have a chair. I've already at the last meeting said that the board should really, at the April 9th meeting, we have 2 applicants. And at that point in time, either the chair of NNE or who's representing NNE should start that process, and you all should be voting to fill the vacancy.
So, Linda, to paraphrase, at the April 9th meeting, NNE is recommending that we hold interviews with the candidates who have applied for the board opening.
Yes, and vote
And
to appoint one.
And that satisfied our 30 days?
Yep,
When are you gonna vote for the NNE chair?
hopefully on the 30th. We have our meeting at 6:30 in the evening. They've all been given the responses that you gave to their questions they had, and they've had them and had plenty of time to look at them, so I'm hoping that it will go smoothly.
Any other committee business from anyone we need to discuss? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Linda, for that.
Okay.
We move on to 6B, which is the rental registration process and materials. Joanne?
Thank you. Purpose of this memo is to request approval of the process by which properties will be identified and registered as rental units, and also approval of the materials to be used in that process and the fees to be assessed. On January 23rd, 2025, the Board of Directors approved the creation of a task force to study the issues created by the increasing number of SVCA properties being operated as short-term rentals, or STRs, and to recommend standards, policies, and registration requirements for the management of these properties. The task force presented their recommendations in a memo shared with the board on August 28th of 2025, and both the resolution and the recommendations were attached to this memo for your reference. In support of these recommendations, the community approved a change to SVCA's bylaws at the AGM in November of 2025. This change requires property owners who rent their property as an STR to register with the association. I did not attach the bylaws because this document started to get too long, so I apologize, but it's online and you can reference section 7 there. After the AGM, I, the GM, was tasked with implementing a process to first ensure that property owners who rent their property give the appropriate information to the association. Second, to establish an appropriate fee to pay for the administrative burden of this process. Third, to develop materials to support registration and the management of rental properties going forward. And fourth, to suggest appropriate revisions to fees and fines relating to rental properties. So that's what you're getting, all those
Just a
things.
minor task.
Yeah, all those things, hopefully. The STR task force proposed an implementation approach that assumed SVCA would have to rely on the owners of properties to self-identify to the association. They anticipated a lengthy introductory period and suggested tactics such as employing a scraping service to identify possible SVA STRs. It's hard to say on Airbnb and Verbo, it doesn't even sound like English. This is not necessary, yay! Since there is a simple way to identify which properties within the association may be rentals. Specifically, our database records both the association property address and the mailing address of the owner. In instances where those addresses are different, we propose to ask the owners if their property is a rental, or if there is some other factor that resulted in the different addresses. For example, if it's a vacation home and they want communication sent to their home elsewhere. Or perhaps they have a PO box. We have quite a few people with a PO box. We don't know what that means. Maybe it means they don't like the mailbox clusters and they'd rather go pick up their mail at, wherever they have their box. But we'll figure that out in the process. So what I'm going to do now is run through the proposed approach to identifying both long and short-term rental properties within SVA and how we aim or plan to register them. The initial registration process. The month that the initial registration process begins, an article explaining the rental property registration process will be published in the Views, and I drafted that and put it in with this memo so you could take a look. Next, to begin the process, SVCA will send a snail mail, USPS letter, and I've put that in here too, to all potential rental property owners, which we are defining as Sun Valley members whose mailing address is different than their association address. And that letter will inform them of the registration requirement and ask them to respond to us. Owners will be able to respond by completing a very short online survey, which I've attached a copy of, or by simply calling the front office. And if people call in, we'll just open the survey, ask them the questions, and type in the answers. Pretty straightforward. When people respond to that letter, we'll confirm that the property is a rental, or we'll discover that the different addresses were caused by another factor, and then they'll be off the list of potential rentals. We know that not everyone will respond to the letter, so an email message will also be sent to all owners for whom we have a valid email address. Email reminders will be sent 1 and 2 weeks after the original mailings to everybody who has not responded. So we'll keep track of who's responded so we don't bother them. After 3 weeks, we will send another physical printed letter through the mail, and we'll also email it to anyone who has not yet responded. This second communication will emphasize the deadline for responding and let people know that if we don't hear from them, we will assume that their property is a rental and begin to assess fines for non-compliance. So they're ignoring our requests to register, so they'll start to earn fines. After 3 weeks, administrative staff will also begin calling the non-responding owners. Once we know that a property is a rental, we'll mail them a physical registration packet that includes a registration form and general information about the process. And I put in all of those materials for you guys to take a look at. As we receive completed registration forms, we'll save the physical copies. They'll be put in a file and added to an online database, which we will make accessible to both administrative staff and Sudden Valley Security. This database will include the property address, the division and lot, the 24-hour contact that has been identified by the property owner for management of the property, the owner's name and contact information, the property manager's name and contact information, the type of rental, the tenant's name and contact information when we know it, so that's just for long-term rentals, and the date of registration and then annual renewal. So it'll be just the same date, but a year later. The last step in this process will be to train security on the use of the online database and the process for informing property management contacts of any tenant issues that might arise. Okay, so what this process will do is first identify whether a property is a rental, next gather information about that rental, and lastly provide administration and security with information to be able to get in touch with the identified contact for managing that rental property in the event that we get a complaint about late night noise or 18 vehicles parked in the street, things like that, that we have to address quickly. Thinking about the ongoing renewal process and how we'll capture new rentals, 1 month before the annual renewal of registration, Sun Valley will send a letter and an email to the owners of rental properties asking them to update their information. Reminders will be sent at 1 and 2 weeks after the initial letter. Calls will be made at 3 weeks. If property owners do not respond to either, let us know that their property is no longer a rental or to update their registration information. Fines for non-compliance will be assessed. When a property is sold, Sun Valley will contact the new property owner to determine if the property is a rental. If it is, a packet will be sent and follow-up will be conducted until the property has been appropriately registered.
Is that for all properties that are sold, or just the ones that were rentals?
No, all.
Okay.
Yeah. We used to in the past send welcome packets when a property changed hands. For a long time that didn't happen. From 2022 through now, it hasn't happened. Recently, we worked with staff to put the materials back, to update the materials and put that process back together. And next week, we'll be ready to send out our first batch. And everybody who's been new in the valley since January 1st will get a packet. And we'll do that quarterly. Didn't put it in here, but there's also the chance that someone who lived in a property is deciding to move out but not sell their Sudden Valley property, and instead they'll be turning it into a rental, and we won't have any notification of that except for a change of address for their primary mailing address. One of our rules in official rules and regulations of Sudden Valley is that it's the responsibility of every member or property owner to update and keep current their primary mailing address. So if people try and avoid the system by failing to do that and we detect it, it's kind of a double whammy because they'll have to pay whatever fine is deemed appropriate by you guys for not registering their rental, but they'll also potentially get dinged for not keeping their address up to date. And so every quarter when we query the database to get a list of new owners. We'll also get a list of people whose addresses don't match, and we'll check to see if any new entries have appeared on that list. Okay, so as a proposed schedule for implementation, and this is very different than what the task force recommended, because we have a different approach that I just described. We don't have to rely on people to hear about it and then call in. So if you guys approve the program tonight, we'll make the deadline to publish the article in the April Views, which will come out in the first week of April. Then we would propose to send out those first letters on April 20th, send out reminders on the 27th and the 4th, begin our reminder calls on May 11th, and begin assessing non-compliance fines against anyone who doesn't respond May 25th. And in between launching the program and that May 25th deadline, the board will meet several times, and I will update you on our progress so that if it seems like the word isn't getting out and it's not going fast enough, we can extend the period, because we don't want to be charging people fines if they honestly haven't heard about it or whatever, or missed the boat. And then in June, we propose to begin following up with new owners. Okay, so that's the 6th month of the year, so it's the end of the second quarter, so that's when we'll do our new member welcome packets and take a look at the database for any new rentals. So, registration. Getting their contact information is important, but it's really not the only purpose of registering a rental property. So I've summarized the different activities associated with registering a property, and they vary by the type of rental that we are registering. So for a long-term rental, and I set up these tables so that on the left, in that column, those are the responsibilities and actions of the owner, and on the right, you see what Sudden Valley is doing for that registration. So for long-term rentals, owners are asked to provide a copy of their lease agreement that is in force for the property, to identify the start and end dates of the lease, to acknowledge that they, the property owner, retain responsibility for their tenants' compliance with Sudden Valley's rules and regulations, to state whether membership privileges are retained by the property owner or granted to the tenant, and then to pay the registration fee. Meanwhile, Sudden Valley will enter the property into the rental status database. We will send the appropriate renewal reminders when it's time. And importantly, I'm proposing that we inspect the property for AC, architectural control policy violations, and then inform the property owner of anything that we find. At the same time, we're going to be identifying the parking capacity for the lot and entering that into the database. I think those two things are the biggest possible benefit that this association could glean from investing this much administrative time into this process. To get out into the community, to let people know, hey, you have a hot tub, we don't see that you got permission to install that, could you please post hoc apply and get the input of the architectural control.
We're using your whole front yard as a parking lot.
Right.
See a lot of that.
We do see a lot of that, and honestly, neighbors don't appreciate it, but they don't feel empowered to, I've heard several people refer to it, rat them out.
I hear that all the time.
Right, and truthfully, it's not their job. So if we're out there in the community, it's a golden opportunity for us to, in a very polite and respectful way, conduct the inspection. It'll be trained members of staff, not random people from security. Trained members of staff to walk the property, make a list if there are any violations. Hopefully there won't be any. And then to just inform the owner of that and talk about a time frame for addressing them. Okay. We, of course, will collect the registration fee. And last but not least, we'll send a copy of the new resident welcome packet so that they can share that with their tenant. So that they know who to call for what and all that good stuff. All that information that is in the welcome packet. So that's the long-term rental. For the short-term rental, we're asking owners to identify which platform they use to manage their rental and to provide a copy of their property listing. We're gonna ask them to briefly describe the arrangements they have set up for trash removal, cleaning, and by cleaning, I don't mean the inside, I mean maintenance of the site. All right, and who is their 24/7 contact? We're gonna ask them to decide whether they want their property to be listed on our website by address as a short-term rental, and their address would be a clickable link that would take someone right to their Airbnb listing or their verbal listing for their property. That will be super important because we can also link it to the golf database. So that people traveling to Sudden Valley to play the course, and there's many of them throughout the year, instead of being stuck in town, they'll be able to stay in some of the beautiful properties out here that are available for short-term rental. So we think that's a real win-win for everybody. We'll also ask them to acknowledge that they, as a property owner, will retain responsibility for their tenants' compliance with our rules and regulations, and again, pay that fee. We also enter short-term rentals into the database, send them reminders, inspect the property. This next step, we're gonna need to talk a little bit about, but our bylaw change requires that short-term rentals present proof that they have a valid Whatcom County conditional use permit. So we'll verify that when they register. While we're out doing our inspection, we'll identify their parking capacity and enter that into the database. We'll add them to the short-term rental list on our website if they say that they want to be on it, collect the registration fee, and provide them with a guest guidelines poster and visitor's guide flyers, which are still being developed, so I don't have an example of that flyer to bring you tonight. I'm gonna diverge from the memo here and talk a little bit about the conditional use permit. I spoke with a long-term staff member of the county who works in planning. So she is one of 3 people, she told me, that helps people to get their conditional use permits. The first thing to know is that it's a $5,000 fee for that permit.
Whoa.
The next thing to know is that, to her certain knowledge, not one single short-term rental has applied for a conditional use permit. So this will be a brand new thing for literally every property to undertake. She told me that she doesn't, they have 180 days to grant the conditional use permit, and she doesn't see it taking that 180 days. She thinks it'd be more like 2 months, 60 days, to grant a permit if they apply for it. But that's a real stumbling block. Our motivation as an association to register rental properties is to ensure that there's a mechanism for keeping the residents adherent and compliant with our rules and regulations, right? Because that's what people are complaining about. They're complaining that too many people are parking, I can't get into my home. They're taking up all the street, or they're making noise, or they're leaving out trash. If we have a contact for the property and a relationship with the owner where they acknowledge that they're responsible for compliance with our rules, we've achieved most of our goals. Requiring the conditional use permit is requiring each one of those properties to make, to spend an additional $5,000. The county is not pursuing enforcement, even though it's a code on the books that says they have to have a permit.
This is just short term?
She said that the person I spoke to in planning said that they had presented to the county council a list of regulations to accompany the law that was passed, but that the council had taken no actions to implement or approve the regulations. So they don't have any guidelines, right, for how to do it. They know that it's the law that they should have one, but they don't have a playbook by which to achieve that. And so that's why the county, she explained, and I'm not an expert in local government by any means, but that's what she said was keeping this from moving forward. And of course, if it's so expensive, if someone's not kind of forced to do it, why would they, right? So that's the situation around the conditional use permit, and I'll let you all think about that.
But you said it's in our bylaws. We put that on our bylaws? I thought we excluded that part.
has to do with they need to be compliant with state and local laws that are on the books.
Right.
So would
Kinda
they
like the-
require a copy of that permit before they can register?
That's what our bylaws say, because that's the law in the county, and our bylaws say they have to be compliant with it, but the county itself isn't enforcing it because the council didn't pass the regulation part of it.
Are they issuing permits though?
They could. I was told that if someone applied as a short-term rental for a permit, that they would grant it. The other thing that I was told, and I'm sorry, I'll just say this one thing, it might answer your question. She said that the law stated that if the rental property was a business in operation prior to the passing of that rule, which was August 6th, 2023, they didn't have to get a permit.
They'd be grandfathered.
They'd be grandfathered in, but that any new businesses would get it. So as a extra step, we could say, do you have proof that you were renting that property prior to August 6, 2023? If they say yes, then we can check off that they're exempt from that requirement. Just depends on how you guys want to do it, but.
So you said that, is it nobody from Sun Valley has applied,
She
or
said that
nobody
no
in
one.
the?
Whole county.
That's what she said.
Nobody in the whole county?
She meant the whole county.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's-
Who would?
No, it's
Okay.
a terrible, this is a money grab, it's crazy, like, what does that even do?
I don't, well, that was another question, what did
Yeah.
you, I don't know.
For the valley's concern, I think our concern is just getting our rental registration
Yeah.
fee and keeping track of them that way. But we can discuss that more. So we do need to review our bylaws for sure. I didn't mean to interrupt, but that is something I wrote up here. Our bylaws actually say that. I thought that was something we discussed, that we were questioning whether to even put it in our bylaws at the time. I'm sorry, go ahead, Gene.
Well, maybe this will get to, I mean, can we make a recommendation when they apply for Sun Valley, to do it in Sun Valley, that this is what's required in our county, but we don't necessarily have to enforce it ourselves if the county's not enforcing it?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
I
what,
mean-
We're not the enforcer.
yeah, the county's the enforcer, not us.
Yeah, and then we can tell them that's what the county says to do, but.
Yeah.
I'll get you.
I mean, if it says that in our bylaws, I understand, but if they're at zero and the county's not enforcing it, I don't think it's fair
No, I don't
to
agree.
do that. Even if it says it in our bylaws, and I would maybe monitor it and check once every 6 months or once a year or something and say, are you now enforcing it? And if they are, then we need to go to these people and say, now you have to have it. But they could, in the meantime, any ones that have
Yeah.
have
That way
it
they
before,
wanna be
they should already,
grandfathered.
but if you can grandfather in, they should do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So have that on the record, on the books in case, changes in the
For
future.
reference, here is the bylaw. Any member or owner leasing or renting property for fewer than 30 consecutive nights is considered a short-term rental under RCW 64.37.010 and shall be required to meet all county and state regulations applicable to SDRs for such activity.
So it covers it just in our general verbiage.
Yeah.
Okay. Lori, then Daniel.
And Daniel can jump in with me if
Oh, okay.
because I think we're probably gonna bring up the same thing. So this came up every single meeting that we had of the short-term rental, was saying they have to comply, and Sun Valley taking on the role of enforcing compliance with government agencies.
Right.
Are we gonna, because they also need to have, a UBI number. They also need to be filing the B&O taxes.
Yeah.
Where are we gonna stop?
Yeah.
Where are we gonna say, this is what you need to do? If you don't do it, that's between you and the county, or you and the state.
Yeah.
We're telling you need to comply, but we're not going to be the enforcer of
Very
the
good.
county laws.
Right.
That's kind of,
Well,
am I remember this correctly?
Yeah, we had a lot
Okay.
of discussions about this, and I think the only way, we couldn't police them, we couldn't check on them and say, did you sign up yet? I think the only recourse we would have is if we did have, in the application, include your CUP. We can't go back later and say, well, now we're looking at it, so we don't wanna get involved in what the county's doing or what changes they have there. if we do it initially in the initial sign up, I think that's our only chance.
Well, it's proposed that we renew it annually, so there would be an opportunity if things
But we wouldn't
change.
check on people to see, do you have it now? It would be like, in this registration, now we need that number.
Well, at some point, I agree that the county would have to enforce this, even if it would say at some point
Well,
that
we
Sun
wouldn't
Valley would
enforce
supply
it.
a list.
There's nothing we could do to force them to pay it, but we could
Right, but the
allow them
county
to rent out their property if they don't have that form that we're asking for.
But can we,
I think we're asking.
can we,
I think we're just,
renting the
If it's-
property?
We gotta raise hands, we'll go ahead and Linda have her hand up.
I just wanted to say, back in 2023, when part of this came down, where they said, yeah, you have to have a use permit, it's like they also, the county council instructed planning and whatever is their financial thing, to start forming up a plan for STRs that basically looks the same as the city of Bellingham, that has a really robust program that's just excellent. But, you know, Tyler Bird sat here one night and said, they're not gonna get to it, and they're not gonna do it. Well, how long do you give them yeah, I'm gonna pass it up for another year, but it's not for us to say,
Well,
you know?
I agree.
Just one point here, that Sun Valley does require a Whatcom County permit before new construction can begin.
Mm-hmm.
So there is precedent for requiring a county
Yeah,
before progressing in a Sun Valley process. I'm not sure it's equivalent, but it is sort of the same thing.
And then Tom,
I was just gonna say,
okay, you can go.
sorry, I thought you said me first. Sorry.
You had your hand up first.
Okay, the only thing that I'm sort of thinking of with this is I do have a short-term rental in Canada, and the platforms actually regulate, if it's being enforced, I have to have a BC registration. So if I don't have that, they cut off all my rentals. So I think that would happen if the county here starts enforcing it. They will contact Vrbo and Airbnb and Booking.com and whatever other, and then they'll go, you have to plug this into your account, and if you don't have it, we're not gonna let any more rentals go through.
And then we have Tom, and
I wanna make a comment again, but it's
Go ahead.
all not the same thing.
You know, my thought is, with the way the county, the city, and everybody likes to raise taxes, if they've got a $5,000 a pop fee for STRs, and that's a lot of money, and that's a good revenue stream, and I can't see that sitting idle for very long.
although it has been a couple of years.
I think there'd be a lot of pushback.
All right, Linda.
I wanted to say, one of the things is, in our process that we have, has anybody looked into scraping companies? Because I think that's the place to start, not sending out letters to people. Do you know how many people that have developed lots live out of area? Let's say not within Sudden Valley. Their mailing address is either Bellingham or.
619,
Huh?
there are 619.
Well,
Because see, that's the
And
whole.
of those, we have registration information for 120. They are long-term rentals, they've told us this, and for a handful, we have a lease document.
That's better than actually I expected. But I would almost think scraping, how do I say it? Scraping companies, as I understand it, can get you that information. They basically go into the databases that you're looking for short-term rentals. And they just take the information and give it to you. I went to the point of where, see, how many are there? And the fees truly vary. If we're gonna be spending $17,000 a year on staff doing this, wouldn't you be better off getting an idea of, well, here are the people on Vrbo, here are the people on Airbnb, and whatever other ones are here that we could, and then send out the mailing. It would just be a way that, if it works, I don't know, because I came real close, but I don't want to get in trouble like Tommy did once.
Okay,
You know.
so can I answer?
You can.
Please.
I spent 25 years working in data collection and analytics, most of that in online platforms. And we already have the answer to our question. We don't need to employ a scraping service. The data that the scraping service would return to us is approximate, What we have in our database, our own private Sun Valley database, is not, it's got a high level of accuracy because we use it to charge people. So every single month, we have touch points with all these properties. Now, granted, 3% of them don't pay us, so we could have as much as 3% error, but that is way, way more accurate than anything we would get from a scraping service. Also, we would have to go through every one of these steps, even if we got something from a scraping service. So why add the extra expense of that? If it turns out that there's a high level of error, and I'm just wrong, or if I say, you know, I come back and I report, we've gotten to all 619 and we've got all our registrations, and then people in the community are saying, well, what about this property? I know they're operating. If we miss things, that would be an indication that I'm totally wrong, and we do need to go out and start looking for these people in the bushes, and a scraping service at that time would become, you know, more germane. The cost of it would make sense if we were missing people. But given how our database is maintained, I just don't think that would happen.
I guess my concern is that, and you know as well as I do, when we both decided to print that article and have that board meeting, that I think that a lot of them are running are just looking and going, nope, not gonna, if so you send out a letter and they don't return it to you, you don't have no proof, you have no proof one way or the other, are they operating an Airbnb?
But then,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You know, but I'm saying, so you know, what I'm saying is, at least with a scraping service, I think you basically get the name of the person, whether they're Airbnb, whether they're verbal, I don't know, but I'm gonna look into it more. I just started looking at that yesterday, because I remember Daniel bringing it
I
up.
would think our community also would start, if we didn't catch any or they weren't in our database, I think homeowners that live next to Airbnbs would be saying, hey, I know for sure the guy next door is renting them out. And at that point, we could actually look on Vrbo or Airbnb or whatever itself.
But it doesn't give you addresses. It gives you like a name, usually a last name of, oh, Jan is the contact person for this, you know, and it'll sort of give you a map where you can see where these Airbnbs or Verbos are, but sometimes you can't drill down enough on the map that's there that you can see what street it's on.
Right, which is exactly why it doesn't make sense to start there. It does make sense to employ that if we have mysterious ones or we know we're missing some. But to me, as literally a database professional, starting with our own data and then working around the fringes makes a heck of a lot more sense.
Joanne, didn't you say though if they don't answer, then they
We'll start charging them fines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the general consensus is that we're not gonna worry about the county's requirement currently for a CUP for now. We'll let the county figure that out, their own plan before we would proceed with our own requirement. for
So
that.
we'll review that later.
Yeah,
Yeah, if they're not gonna hunt anybody down, why would we?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
okay,
All
very
right.
good.
So I estimated the costs, you can see it there on the third page of the memo. Assuming that we're gonna register about 500 properties, we estimate that a registration fee of $300 per year per property will cover costs. If the board thinks that it's necessary to have security, you know, drive by every rental property every day, I think we should increase it to $350 per year to cover the additional cost of those patrols. Additionally, I had another thought to help out some of the owners who don't have adequate parking. My proposal is that SVCA would make overflow parking available to the owners of STRs by giving them a parking pass. And that pass would have a number on it that corresponded to the property. And so when tenants had an extra car that wouldn't fit, they put the pass, which could be laminated and kept in the rental unit, on the dashboard, and they park in the golf lot. Security would then every night be assigned to go through there multiple times and record those sequence numbers of anybody who used it. And then every night they park there, we'll charge them $15. We'd give them the first, you know, their first pass, physical pass for free, and then if they lost it or tenants walked off with it, we could replace it for $10, because laminating is really expensive. But anyway, that's something that's trying to anticipate the need for additional parking, because that's one of our biggest concerns with these rentals.
Okay, we have a question.
I was just gonna say, I would charge them for the first one as well, it's only like $10, but, charge them for the first one.
Okay. Okay, so the fines. Currently, we have a fine in the fees and fines that charges people $100 and $10 for every day that they are a rental but don't identify themselves to us. So if they've been doing this for 5 years, we could
There's
do
that $5,000 for the county for the CUP.
Right, anyway, but I mean, we would say, okay, starting on, you have to be registered by May 25th. If you're not registered on May 25th and you don't register till June, we could assess you for, several weeks, plus the $100, that would be your fine. And I actually think that that's reasonable, because the longer they leave it, the worse it gets.
How much are they gonna be
Do
made
they
per
have to
day?
have a, oh, go ahead.
I mean, that could be like $400 or $500.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's what the structure is. I mean, it's hard to set a fine, actually, because you need it to be something people can pay.
Right.
So, you're not forcing people into bankruptcy, but you also need it to be high enough that they pay attention, right? And so.
But this is a fine, it's not a fee, right?
Correct, it's a fine, right? And then for additional, so we would add a fine if there is parking outside of an approved parking spot for a rental. It would be $40 for the first occurrence and $80 for the second occurrence. And I've recently had occasion to think about what our reset would be, and I settled on 6 months. So, because a lot of our fines look like this. There's, $25 for this, but if you do it twice, the second time is $50, because really, you were told once. But that's not like a lifetime thing, that's silly. So for something like the pool, we say it's per season, right? But what do you do for leaving your garbage can out? Oh, look, we have a record, you left your garbage can out in 2022. Now you left it out again, second one, it's now $50, no, right? So I said for common sense, we're gonna make it 6 months. So that seemed reasonable or not, you guys can change that. But that's what I would propose to add that. So I wrote 3 motions so that you guys could consider this in bunches. One, so I'm asking that you would approve the proposed processes for initial and ongoing registration. So that includes the materials, the approach. The second is that I request the Board of Directors to approve the registration fee of $300 or $350, you guys can duke that out, per property per year. And third, I request that the Board of Directors approve the proposed fine of $40 for the first occurrence and $80 for the second occurrence for parking at a rental property outside of an approved spot.
So, questions? We'll go around on to the first, and Lori, or it might have been Lori first on this time.
Lori, go first.
So just a question on the parking on an approved spot. So technically, couldn't I park in front of Jean's house as long as I was off the pavement?
No.
No? So,
Well, if there was an approved parking pad there, you could. It was in front of her house.
right, so how do we know that, how are we going to determine that's a car belonging to that house?
The parking pass.
So they wouldn't ask for parking.
Right, in that situation. So it's pretty obvious. What usually happens is that the driveway is filled with 4 cars that are all smashed together, and then there's 2 that are like right there.
Oh, there's 2 in the yard.
Yeah,
I mean, that's some of my neighbors.
that's actually against our rules. Yeah, Daniel can back me up on this. He's our expert.
I didn't mean immediately on my street, I meant in the community as a whole.
So you don't wanna rat anybody out?
No. Okay, just an inquiry, I'm not opposed to that. I was just wondering how it was, I mean, if we can't enforce something, then,
Then why have it?
right, so I was just asking how we
It's
were.
kind of a work in
I didn't know if we were
progress,
gonna issue, not the paid overflow parking passes, but saying that every short-term rental had a parking pass they had to give to their people, and we needed to, or what, I didn't know.
Good point. So I think the original idea is doing part of the inspection when someone registers their property is they would go out and determine they have like 2 spaces that are appropriate for parking the car, and then a security or Alan or someone drove by, our compliance officer saw 5 cars parked there, then they're in violation.
Okay, so it's over and
because-
above what they have stated as available,
Correct.
agreed to as available parking in there.
Right, and you
So-
notice that, like, if there was a car on the grass or in the shrubbery.
So it may not be foolproof, but it's.
Okay, I was just, yeah, no, I maybe I missed it or fell asleep or something.
Linda?
You know, people, and I guess the thing, I'm gonna go back to what Lori's talking about. A lot of people have gone to expense and filed the paperwork they needed to with the ACC in order, and as part of our approved things, to have that extra space that you develop besides your driveway out in front of your residence. If I were Jean and you were parking in front of my house on that piece of property, I'd be calling the officer going, send the compliance officer the tow truck, please. Because I know that you were parking on that area that I had just put all the work into, the gravel and the conduit and
To that
everything.
point, no matter, if you put a parking space in front of your yard, that's not your parking space. That's everybody's parking space still.
I know, but
really?
it mentions it
No, 'cause-
specifically
It's your
in the ACC and in the bylaws about you can have that extra space beside your driveway.
But it doesn't mean it's yours.
Right, because they're in the right of way. So it's Sun Valley property, we've given you permission to improve the right of way, but doesn't give you ownership rights.
Okay.
And we'll go Daniel.
Yeah, I just wanted to square the conditional use permit with our bylaw, what was voted on. I mean, I'm not pushing our enforcement of the CUP, but how do we square that with our bylaws?
Well, for me, I think we could either revise our bylaws now, although I like the way they are worded, and then we wouldn't enforce them until counties start enforcing.
Okay.
Is how I would look at that. But we certainly could revise the bylaws if the board thought it was necessary.
Could
And
we?
then, what's that?
Could we?
Yeah, we could.
Well, you'd have to propose the change, approve it as a board, and then it would go on the ballot.
Okay.
We could just put in a thing, which is everything except the CUP on this. Right.
Well, there's all sorts of rules that cover, I don't know about long-term rentals, but short-term rentals, like Lori was saying, you have to be able to register yourself with the Department of Revenue. Then you have to say which of the approved, like Airbnb or Vrbo that you're listed with. There's all sorts of stuff that you have to do and get a UBI, all that sort of thing, that's requirement.
The city's
No,
very
it's-
clear on it. The county it was supposed to adopt what the city did, but the county never has, like Lynn said, since 2023. And a meeting I had like a year ago that I was in, I brought that up because we were with the city and the county, and I said, this is one of the problems I have, is the county's lagging years behind the city in enforcing any of these things. And it's a problem, and they said, oh, we didn't even think of that. But it's a big problem for us, because we were discussing STRs at the time and everything else, so they still haven't done anything. They haven't adopted anything, they haven't moved it along. So as much as like Tom said, yeah, it's a revenue stream, but they don't seem to care, or they can't figure out how maybe it's not a revenue stream, I don't know, like what it's gonna cost for them to keep track of that, so maybe they don't enforce it. Okay, until some point, Tom?
Yeah, back to the parking in front of neighbors' houses. I'm pretty sure the neighbors are gonna know that the house next to them is a short-term rental.
Yeah.
And if they're having parking problems in front of their own house, the cars are gonna be changing constantly. So they're gonna start complaining pretty quick.
Yeah, I would.
So that is one question I actually had, because it is short-term rentals, and you're saying that the 6-month reset date, right, to go for a second occurrence. There's gonna be new short-term people there all the time, so they could be,
It could be new people, but hopefully our relationship is with the property owner,
right,
not the tenants of a short-term rental. And they will need to communicate via their listing, through posting, information inside the unit, what the rules are, and it's their job to enforce the rules on the tenant, it's not ours. Our job is to inform the owner of the property because they have responsibility for their tenants.
and then they're getting the fine.
If they're getting the fine, you can bet that they're gonna figure out how to fix it.
Okay, then
Real quick,
Linda again.
I'm sorry, so are we gonna charge long-term rentals this $300 fee also? Because we haven't done that in the past.
Yes, I'm proposing that everybody pays the same fee. They're all getting registered and they're all getting checked and they're all getting material sent back to them.
Okay, just,
Equity.
And then one question I had with the renewal process, I'm sure you thought about this, you don't want it to be like a set January 1st or whatever,
No.
every year, you want it to stagger throughout the
Right,
year.
it'll be
Okay.
anniversary of
And
registration.
easier for,
Right, so right now, everybody will be registering within a month's time, but over time,
yeah, I got you.
it'll spread out.
Okay, any other questions or comments? I'm gonna read the motions. So, motion number 1 is I move that the Board of Directors approve the proposed processes for initial and ongoing registration.
Second,
Yeah. All in favor? That's unanimous. Just go ahead and mark. That's unanimous. Motion number 2, I move that the Board of Directors approve the proposed registration. Oh, we should discuss this. Do we want 300 or 350?
350.
We have 350. What's the thought
I
process
agree
here?
too.
I would say 350.
Okay, consensus 350? All right, I'll read it with the 350. I move that the Board of Directors approve the proposed registration fee of $350 per property per year. All in favor? Oh, I need a second.
Second.
Sorry. Thank you, Tony.
point of information, if you have a long-term lease, and somebody, let's say you're leasing to somebody for 3 years or 4 years, every year they have to repay that fee on that initial rental. Okay, I just wanna make sure that I'm understanding that.
Okay, I read the motion. It was seconded by Tommy. All in favor of the 350 annual renewal fee, short-term and long-term. That's unanimous. Okay, and our last motion, I move that the Board of Directors approve the proposed fine of $40 for your first occurrence and $80 for your second occurrence for parking at a rental property outside of an approved spot.
Second.
Thank you, Tommy. All in favor? That is unanimous. Sean?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, thank you. Thank you, Joanne. Okay, moving on to item number 7, our new business. We have request for approval for community survey support, page 9 in your packet. Joanne?
Purpose of this memo is to request approval of funding for sampling and analytic support for the 2026 community survey. The Long Range Planning Committee has approved an updated community survey to be conducted in the spring of 2026. The purpose of this survey is to provide a baseline understanding of the current attitudes and priorities of members that will support decision-making during SVCA's planning and budgetary processes. The last community survey was conducted in 2020. While it was comprehensive in scope, the 2020 survey employed a unique sample design which made it difficult to understand how representative, if at all, the results were of the entire community. Specifically, the 2020 survey allowed anyone to respond online to the survey and then eliminated returns that were sent from identical IP addresses. So one of the reasons that's problematic is because if people went to the library to log on, they would all have had the same IP,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you rebooted your computer or your router, there's a potential that Comcast would have assigned a new IP address to you. and then you could have responded multiple times. So using IP address is a decent surrogate for identifying unique responders, but it's not accurate 100% by any means. Anyway, this sample was then supplemented by sending paper copies of the survey via US mail to a subset of 100,000 people of the total community. These efforts resulted...
No.
1,000. I was only off a little. These efforts resulted in 1,173 total completed online responses, of which 944 were considered valid. The paper survey resulted in 226 responses, and the two samples were analyzed separately. So honestly, as someone who's worked in research for a long time, I don't know what you would make of those results. Because it's so unusual, right? And you can't really tell. Anyway, for this year, a sampling approach that is both simpler and more robust analytically is proposed for the 2026 survey. There are currently 3,116 properties in the association. Each property will be allowed one survey response. If an individual owns multiple properties, that means they'll have the opportunity to respond multiple times. This design mirrors how our dues are assessed and how votes are counted at the AGM. The survey would be conducted online only. Each property owner or member of the association will be mailed a letter, again via the mails, that invites them to complete the survey and includes a unique identifier for their property, which will be required for them to access the survey. If a member misplaces their survey ID, they'll be able to just call administration and get their code. Using this unique identifier will allow survey respondents to leave the survey in the middle and then come back later right where they left off. It will also keep members from responding more than once per property. Anonymity will be maintained by recording the survey ID in the data file, not their property address. Okay, so when anybody looks at the data file, they'll just see a random ID in there. They won't be able to say, oh, that's 300 Sun Valley Drive. And we'll go ahead and append information from our database, such as the division, the length of ownership, the assessed value of the property, and anything else we have in our database to that ID that they get. And in this way, we can improve the quality and projectability of the data while ensuring that no response can be tracked back to an individual property. In addition to sending letters, we'll put an article in the views, along with instructions on how everyone can access the survey. 2 weeks after we send the original invitation letter, anyone who didn't respond will get a postcard saying, please respond, and then general reminders will also be included in the weekly e-blast. Email messages that mirror the mailed invitations will be sent to property owners for whom a valid email address is on file, and a recent analysis of our database indicated that email addresses are on file for just under 80% of properties, which is massive. It's a really good number. The online survey will be designed to be accessible using either a computer or mobile device like a cell phone or a tablet. But if a property owner is not able to access the survey, they don't have any of those things, they will have the opportunity to come to the Welcome Center and use one of 2 laptops that we'll set aside for that purpose. Staff will assist members to get into the survey, access it, and will be sure that they know how to operate it, but they will not complete the survey even if asked. The homeowner will have to do that. The proposed survey is 20 questions and can be completed in less than 8 minutes. Because it's manageable in length, we anticipate that there will be fewer incomplete surveys and that more people will want to respond. In addition to questions about member involvement, attitudes towards assessments, and priorities for maintaining facilities and amenities, the survey also includes simple demographic questions that will allow us to understand the size and composition of the responding households. Once we create the processes for distributing invitations and collecting responses, surveys can be conducted more easily in the future. This initial survey will give us a baseline of information which can be extended by conducting shorter surveys on specific topics as they become relevant to the community. While this proposed survey design is simpler for respondents, it is much more complex to operationalize. For this reason, I'm requesting funding for a little bit of third-party support on the analytics phase of the project. I have identified a well-regarded, regionally located company called Catapult Insights that specializes in custom research and is available to partner with staff to conduct the survey. Specifically, Catapult will provide the following services: review of the questionnaire, consulting on sampling and weighting plan, data cleaning, weighting and tabulation, and then preparation of a summary report. By employing a respected third party to assist with these particular elements of the project, we will ensure that the community has confidence in the results of the survey, and we will build a strong foundation for our future survey work. The cost of developing the questionnaire, programming the survey, and inviting members to participate are covered by our operational budget. Catapult Insights has provided the following quotation for their services: $10,000 for everything except the report, and then an additional $8,000 for preparing the report. The Long Range Planning Committee voted unanimously to approve the proposed questionnaire and survey design and to recommend to the Board of Directors that they provide funding for third-party support of the project. I request that the Board of Directors approve the proposed survey design as described above, allocate $18,000 from UDR for this project, and authorize the General Manager to execute a contract with Catapult Insights for third-party support.
Questions? Tom, then Linda?
Yeah, I did review the contract, and if I was doing a job in my house and somebody presented me a contract with terms like this, I would reject it and throw them out of my house. There's no way I could support a contract with these terms.
What do you find wrong with the terms?
The terms are standard for the industry.
50%, what if we only get a 30% return?
Has nothing to do with them. They're signing up to do data analytics, not to do any of the field work. That's what I'm doing, or all the staff.
So if something happens and we cancel those services, we can still have to pay the full amount. I'm concerned with that.
Linda, and then we'll go right.
There's no numbers for the off-leash dog park. I'm assuming that before this goes on, we're gonna put something in there,
Best memory point.
correct?
Yeah,
And I wonder, one of the things under number 12 is we talked about dues, how much they only should be each year and everything else. I would ask that since so many people talk about the 7% and not exceeding it, could there be a question to ask about whether you agree or not agree at all for charging use fees for things like the health club and the pools again? They're a big expense, and they run at a negative every year. And it's just, right now, they get all that within their dues, and I just wonder if that could be an added question of, whether how people feel about having use fees again for things like the health club and the swimming pools.
Sean or Tommy, you want to answer that? I'm sure you guys thought about it. Go ahead.
That didn't really come up as far as use fees, but I wouldn't have a problem adding it, and I don't think the committee would really have a problem with adding. We did make, we had one member of the committee that really wanted senior services, and we made that accommodation. That's the word I was looking for, so I don't think we have a problem.
Just to tie in with that, one other alternative, if people consider raising dues or selling out part of Sun Valley for condos, maybe they need to look at those options there. Maybe the dues don't sound so bad anymore, so give them more scenarios that they should consider.
Well, this is also an initial survey. One of the things that, like Joanne was saying for future surveys, we try to keep it a little bit general so that we get this information and then we'll drill down and get into more specifics in the next survey.
One thing that I think I brought up a little bit on the Long Range Planning Committee, but it's like this initial investment for this, survey and having Catapult kind of help us out with that. I was just thinking in future surveys, I'd like to get to more of solid cadences. Obviously, the community's been saying they want to, I guess, give us more feedback on what we do daily. Obviously we can't make that spend that often. So doing a direct survey digitally, something that we put together, I think we'll have to look at too in the future. So I don't know if this is every 5 years or something where we do a big one or, but something to think about.
Joanne, did you want to respond?
Yeah, so, use fees are a little different than dues, and all these comments are around dues. And so it kind of gives us a sense for attitudes around dues, not necessarily other ways to generate revenue through use fees or whatever, right? There's lots of different schemes that have been suggested for creating revenue streams. So adding one more line to that question isn't going to break the bank, but that was the logic that went into constructing those particular statements. It was all around dues to get attitudes around that. Regarding Sean's comment, the real reason that that I want to have a third party for this survey is to have them comment on the sampling plan up front and then work with me when we get the responses back to see if we need to weight it. Perhaps we won't, but if we do, we'll develop a schema for it.
Totally.
And then that schema can be applied to future data, so we won't need that consulting again. But one of the biographies that I included in the information about Catapult, you can see that they have a guy, right? The statistician. And I'm not a statistician. I've worked with them in my career and I know how weighting works, but I don't have letters after my name and I haven't spent 25 years doing it. Right, and so to have that expertise not only gives me a warm, fuzzy feeling, but should give the community, right, more trust in the approach that we're taking. It's not just Joanne, or the board saying, yeah, you should believe this because we think it's great. It's a third party, and that establishes that foundation. That's why I wanted to do it.
So
And then Ray, I'm sorry, did I miss you?
what's included in the optional report? What is that? Is that PowerPoint?
Yeah,
What
in
is-
PowerPoint format, and they would go through and highlight the significant results. So the quotation includes 2 sets of tabulations. Those are big data tables, and they include banner points, which are groups within the overall data that you want to compare. So for example, for question 11, which of the following communication channels do you use, right? Let's say 50% say that they read the Sudden Valley News, right? That'll be in the first column, but then maybe in the next columns we have people who've owned a house for more than 15 years, people who've owned a house for 10 to 14 years, people who've owned a house for 5 to 10 years. So we could compare and see if there's any differences between those. And the way we develop the banner points is to run distributions on all of the variables in the data set and then see what makes sense for analytics. That's what the tabs will be. And then they'll look at those tabs and they'll pick out things that are significant and help the data to come alive and tell a story with it.
And then Ray?
Yeah, I'm speaking for the finance committee here. I'm just wondering, did we get any other estimates on this type of?
No, and the reason we didn't is because typically a research company wants nothing to do with partnering with anybody because that is a recipe for disaster. I had to convince these guys that I've worked in research, I speak your language, here's the parts we're gonna do, here's how we're gonna do it, here's how you'll get your data set, before they would agree to just do part of it. This research project could cost 60 grand, right? They're actually doing the easy parts. Fielding it is always the most costly part of it, and became my area of expertise when I worked in research. So I can do that, and I convinced them of this. They're also a local company, which I thought was important. There are many, I know people at most of the major multinational research companies that I worked with in the past, and they're so big that we're not even a sand speck. So I was lucky to find somebody with these credentials that was willing to work with us. That's why we don't have multiple bids.
Okay. And then also, it's questionnaire, they got $10,000 to compile the data. And that they, hey, if you want the information, it's another 8,000,
Yeah.
that's what I'm reading. If we get like just a really bad turnout, like 200 people, are we gonna invest and keep going, or? We're hoping for 1,000 out of 3,000, that would be great.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, but if it did, they wouldn't have done any work, and yeah, their contract would allow them to charge us something, but, you know, I don't know. And we could tell them we don't want the report. You know, we can just look at the tabs and I can pull out a report. It won't be as fancy, and it's coming from me as opposed to the research company, so it might have less credibility to some people, I don't know.
No, I think it's good to have a third party do it,
Yeah.
because I don't, right now, a lot of folks, that's the best way to go, tell you the truth.
Yeah.
To get somebody else pulling it out, just interesting how they break it out like that. And they got two different prices, contract here, it's 18,400. In the letter, it's 18,000.
Any other questions? Yeah, Daniel?
Yeah, I think Barbara's question is a fair one. Is this going to be considered when we present a plan about the dog park?
Prices.
Is this going to all come back to us after the plan is presented? Because that's a pretty big undertaking, and it's the community is very interested in that. This is our chance to ask the community what they want. Is this going to inform the Marina area design? If we're going to invest this much money into it, I think that should be a part of what we come up with. I mean, we don't even know if people want to play horseshoes.
Sure we do. I want to play horseshoes.
All right, that's one.
I'm wondering if this can't help us decide how much money to invest into the dog park. I mean, maybe there is, even though we still create the fence in the dog park, it may inform us, we really need to spend more money either fixing the ground or making, like we said, a station where they can sit and stuff like that. Which
We are doing that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it sort of, justify if people are like, yeah, we want the dog park, it will help justify those costs to invest into the dog park, is what I'm saying.
Well, I personally, I don't think that's a question. I think we need a dog park. The options that came up was relocating it to other areas, but the community really likes that dog park because the access is quick and easy to the water. So I kind of myself, prefer that we keep it there. We just shrink it down a little bit in size and then fence it in so there is containment in there. At the same time, so we've been down to the dog park numerous times talking to people. Shade structure came up because you can't have access to the pavilion. We need that. That's supposed to be a rental for the whole community, not just for off-leash dog people to sit there. And that came up. So the idea was we are putting the shade structure in there. And I just met with Mike and Greg over last week before I left about trying to address the turf over there, what to do about that. I've done some research on Google. All dog parks get trashed. And typically they say from ½ acre down, those ones get really thrashed, so it's better to keep it at an acre. This is over an acre what they're getting, it's almost like 1.25 acres. So it's not much different, I wouldn't say. And we're addressing the sand. Greg came up with a great idea. We're putting a catch basin in. I'm waiting for the numbers, so I haven't got the numbers back yet.
Yeah, I'm just.
It'll be in-house and we're putting a catch, I didn't get a chance to, we just discussed this stuff, so.
Well, I mean, I don't know where you're getting all these designs from, but I really think the community needs, for our own good, for the board's own good, if we can back it up with numbers that support more horseshoes and tennis courts.
Well,
more
yeah,
power to
so.
it. But if there's an overwhelming desire and need for the dog park, then we have to do it. I really think if we're gonna do this.
I don't think we not do it, the dog park has to be done.
I agree.
Yeah.
But to what extent? We're looking at, I think the biggest issue is pushing the dog park into the wet, swampy corner.
The whole thing.
But I think that where that border would be should be informed by how much people care about these facilities. So I think it'd be ridiculous to have a plan before we we do the
Let's
survey.
get the dog park people back in there.
We'll go Tommy and then Lori. Heidi, did you have your hand up first?
I don't know.
Okay.
We are providing a number of ways for people to comment about what they want. I'm getting some emails, we put it out on, because the committee voted on it. We asked for them to send emails. We're giving the community lots of chances now to make comments.
Thank you. And then
But
Lori.
why would we do this survey if one of the biggest projects is already to be done? Why bother with it?
But we're already giving them now before this, rather than waiting for the survey, we're giving them time now to comment and give their input.
And it's ongoing, I mean, improvements and whatnot will be, this survey is this now, right, it's the initial one, there will be other surveys for going on and maybe in particular.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Lori?
Conversely, what if we set out the survey and off-leash dog park comes in at all ones and twos, or the majority?
Exactly.
And do we say, okay, well, 80% of the respondents don't care about a dog park and get rid of it? I think
No.
there's certain things that I want, I know.
Yeah, I got you,
But I
yeah.
think there's certain things that you can't make decisions as a board. You have to make decisions as a board as the elected board members, and you can't take every single issue to the community. And because we pretty much have done that with the dog park, that's why it hasn't been fenced since 1989 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
we're having more and more issues with, we have legal opinions and we have things like that. I think at this point, if we just keep kicking the can down the road, it's just never gonna get done.
Tom?
Yeah, I know our lawyers have been pushing for a fence at the dog park for several years, but isn't our insurance underwriter also pushing it?
Yeah, we're gonna, yeah.
Should be, considering what county code
It's
says,
a liability. All
it's
right,
a liability.
we're going around, I'm gonna read the motion. On long-range planning committee suggestion as well, so I'll read the motion. I move that the board of directors approve the proposed survey design as described above, allocating $18,000 from UDR for this project, and authorize the general manager to execute a contract with Catapult Insights for third-party support.
Second.
Move to amend the motion.
Ms. Bradley?
If we're going with Catapult's numbers, we'll have to ask Joanne about that. It says that they want 18,400, so we would have to make the request for 18,400, not 18,000. That's what's in their contract.
Page 18.
Page 18.
18.2 or 18.4?
No, 18.4, it's on page 18.
Yeah.
But with the PowerPoint, which
Oh,
we
I
said
see.
we wanted, it's 18,400. So that's what the request should be for.
Yeah, I guess, sorry.
Okay, I'll read the amended
Nothing
motion.
gets past you, Linda.
Nothing. I did too many $1 million contracts in my lifetime.
The motion was amended by Linda, you got that in there? Yeah. So the new dollar amount would be $18,400 from UDR for this project, and authorize the general manager to execute a contract with Catapult Insights for third-party support. All in favor? That is Tom?
Go.
You're opposed, that's you, and by majority. All right, thank you very much. All right, moving on, next is our annual approval request of pool service and chemicals on page 22 in your.
So the finance committee had the opportunity to review items B, C, and D under new business.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so Jean, your committee approved the recommendation to the board to pass all three, or what was the result?
Yeah, all three were results, but there was comments, I think, on all three of them too. So I just wanted the board to be aware of.
All right, we'll start with B's approval request for the pool service and chemicals on page 22.
So the purpose of this memo is to request board approval of the 2026 contract with Cisco Solutions for pool service and chemicals. Cisco has been SVCA's certified pool operator since 2015. They provided us with excellent service over the years, and they've helped us to keep our 2 pools open and healthy despite heavy usage. It's a requirement to have a certified pool operator. So if we don't have a contract with a certified pool operator, we cannot open a pool. Cisco's annual contract estimates the cost of service of chemicals based on the previous year's performance and their current costs. In 2025, we paid less than was estimated and less than in 2024. Cisco attributes this to more of the work opening and closing the pool being completed by maintenance. You can see here that this is just an estimate that they give us. We're charged by the actuals. But there's a lease of a pool controller. They've estimated the cost of chemicals. The cost of chemicals varies widely based on how much water is lost out of the pool, how many people swim in it, and how hot and sunny it is. So it's a crapshoot, obviously. And then they've given us an estimate of their contribution to opening and closing the pool. They visit us every single week, and they've estimated the cost of that. And they also service our pool heater annually. The estimated subtotal is $43,603.50. Sales tax, you can see there, and the total cost for the contract is estimated to be about $47,440.61. So I request that the Board of Directors approve the 2026 Cisco Solutions contract and authorize the General Manager to sign them.
Okay, questions? I'd like to ask Jean, or
Yeah,
Ray.
let Ray, because Ray was one of them, and yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, it says that you need a certified pool guy. What does it take? I was just asking what it took to be a certified pool guy. Is it you go to school for 3 weeks and get a certificate, or does it take years?
It's a combination of classes, passing a test, and having a certain amount of experience. It was proposed to me in the past. One of our previous recreational managers or assistant managers wanted to get this certification. I don't think it's a good idea. It's better to have the resources of a company to call on because they have additional personnel and much deeper expertise than anyone could get from servicing a single pool. So we're far less likely to come up against problems that they haven't seen before. And it's something we do for a short time out of the year. So given all the things that we do, I don't think it's a great idea to do it. Could we do it? Yeah, not for this year though.
No, I'm not taking it. I mean, so they charge $1,200. They come out once a week.
Yeah.
They got to have some kind of certification. They got to be doing something.
So that actually leads into my question. So you just had mentioned they only come out here once a week and maybe it's twice a week or something, but $1,000 for one time a week visit seems pricey to me. I'm sure that's what we've been paying all along, but it just seemed like it was pricey for one time visit a week.
Probably a couple guys though.
That's what I'm thinking, and maybe even could be twice, if we needed them, they probably come twice a week because it is estimate, right? So it's just an estimated.
Yeah, so they are estimating 7 hours of labor. They're charging us $147.50 per hour spent.
Wow.
Yep.
They're plumbers.
They're scientists.
If you don't want to open the pool, I'm down with that.
Yeah, that would save us some money.
That would save us a lot of
Did we
money.
put that on the survey?
No,
We're gonna have a group of people here next
what does
year,
it take to
next week.
get certified? I don't know.
Just grabbing out in Southern California.
So I'd like to point out that it's also possible for an HOA to self-certify to do their own reserve study. And it's also possible for us to do our own surveys, and it's also possible for us to do all kinds of things that we contract out because we're 29 people and we're a half an inch thick and 3 miles wide.
Yeah.
So one of the things that people are trying to do is try to find ways to help. From the finance committee, where can we maybe try to save some money? So I think some of these suggestions may not go through, they may not even be considered, but I think it's just people trying to say, how can we help Sun Valley save some money? And I think that's one of them. I think another one that somebody suggested is looking into the future. Is there more automation at the pool? Can there be more automation that goes on with the pool and the chemicals and the control of the pool? I don't know. I don't know how that's done. I know that Rob, he said that the pool that they used was mostly, that he had been in some sort of organization before that was almost totally automated, but they had to have somebody come in and check it once in a while. I don't know anything about that.
That's exactly how our pool is run.
That's right.
The chemicals are dispensed through an automated controller, and it's monitored through the internet, and our staff check the chemical levels in the pool every single day and must maintain a log. That log is audited when we get inspected by the health department. So our lifeguard staff participate significantly in maintaining the pool, and our maintenance staff participate significantly. Prior to 2024, the pool annually lost thousands of gallons of water, and it was a huge cost because we all know, Linda especially, how expensive water is. And Mike Brock didn't like that we spent all that money on water, and so he spent a lot of time figuring it out and working with Sesco and working with the pool itself, and they determined that the pool had been overfilled for years. So the first year that I brought forward, this was in 2023, is the first time I brought forward a Sesco contract, and it was $48,000 in 2023. Our estimate, which is a little generous, is $47,000. So it's actually the work of staff to maintain the pool appropriately that has kept these costs in line. When costs are going up 10 and 15% a year in some of these categories, and we're actually showing 3 years later that we've held this cost steady, that's good stewardship.
So I agree with that. So my understanding is that we are below contract because we're using our own staff. Is that just the pool staff or is that other staff too?
It's maintenance.
It's maintenance.
When we open the pool, we remove the cover and we do a cleanup.
Okay.
And we have to, put.
They do.
Yeah, we shock the pool.
Shock it to death.
Whatever,
Yeah.
and it has to be open, has to come to a certain temperature. So yeah, maintenance has gotten really good at that.
Okay.
And that's why our costs are coming down for labor.
Okay.
Nice. All right, I'm gonna read the motion now. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Tom.
Just out of curiosity, Sun Valley will handle accidental fecal release. What's involved in that?
They
You
close
don't
the
wanna
pool.
Not a Tootsie Roll.
Cold round pool.
Yeah, they close the pool, they have containers, and they scoop it out, and then the filter has to run for a certain amount of time.
So we don't have to
And they
drink.
check different things, we have tests to check the levels of certain things, kind of grody.
Yeah. All right, so the motion is, I move that the SEC Board of Directors approve the 2026 Sesco Solutions contract and authorize the general manager to sign it on their behalf.
Second.
All in favor?
Open the
Okay,
pool.
that's
Keep
unanimous.
going, keep going.
Listen, just so we know, none of us ever talked about it, I know this seems like a lot of money, the 47,000. Joanne, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the budget for this year is for 60,000.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's good.
All right, so moving on to C, capital request for the golf range equipment, page 26. Joanne?
Yeah, so we're requesting funding to replace the 2021 club car picker cart, the range picking unit, and the range ball washer. Multiple pieces of driving range equipment are scheduled to be replaced in 2026, as included in the capital budget for SERV. I'm recommending, and this is on Kevin's behalf, but I'm reading this, recommending that we replace the club car carryall with the same model club car. Club car has quoted us a $3,250 trade-in value for the existing cart, while competitors have not offered any trade-in. He recommends that we replace the standard golf picking unit with the Par West picking unit. It has larger drums than the competitors and is acknowledged to be very durable. And last, recommends replacing the Range Servant ball washer with a newer model of the same thing, the Range Servant ball washer.
Another grody job.
Yeah. The existing units listed below have well exceeded their life expectancy. They're eating oil and it's pretty sad. The 2026 capital budget does include $32,473 for the replacement of these 3 pieces of equipment. 2 equipment suppliers provided quotes on the range cart, Club Car and Easy Go. I like that name, Easy Go. The Club Car is the same company that we lease our golf carts from, and they offer a good trade-in. 3 companies were contacted for the picker unit, Range Servant, Easy Picker, and Far West. 2 companies were contacted for the ball washer, Range Servant, and Whittick. These ball washers are all similar. The cost for the Range Servant ball washer is much less. It's the same model we've had, and it's lasted a long time. So those are the costs. And we request that the board of directors approve $22,378.46 from SURF, which is well below the budgeted dollars for these purchases, for the purchase of the Club Car Carryall Par West picking unit and Range Servant ball washer.
Any questions? Tom?
Yeah, just a comment under analysis. The existing units listed below have well exceeded their life expectancy. Well, the club car itself is 5 years old. How's its life expectancy?
That's the thing that is burning oil and, yeah, they get used a lot, is my understanding. And then Tom, I'm sorry, I'm not an expert on this stuff.
Any other questions? Daniel?
How often do we get?
Oh, I'm sorry.
How often do we get new, like when we order our new club cars? Isn't it 5 years? Am I dreaming?
The lease for the golf carts?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't
I
know.
think it's every 5.
Those are leased though, aren't
Yeah,
they?
the lease, yeah.
I don't remember.
These pieces of equipment get used really heavily, so they're out there all the time picking up golf balls, and a lot of times it's in the mud and the dirt, so they do turn over fairly quickly.
Commercial vehicle.
Daniel?
Yeah, just put a little perspective on this, and I realize this is all already in the budget. And we do approve a lot of money for the golf course, and I love it. I love having the golf course. But just to add a little perspective, the ball washer, $2,700. What do we spend on the dog park in the last 10 years? If the ball washer, if we could have the budget for the ball washer in the dog park, we could probably get rid of that muddy patch that people bring planks to cross over to get into the other side of the park.
Agreed. So I'm getting numbers on that right now. We're looking for numbers. We're gonna try to do it in-house. So we did get a number like last year, it was like $48,000. So it's quite expensive. And there's other issues to be concerned with. It's not just the dog park. If you've been out there, it's a whole park. It's saturated. It's all area. The dry docks get flooded every year. I mean, it's an issue. You can't get into the restrooms over there. There's like a moat that goes around the restrooms.
Or the trash cans.
So it's a bigger issue. Now, I did hear the county met with Mike Brock last year, the county, Whatcom County, and one of their stormwater projects, they were looking at taking on the Marina to help us get rid of that water down there. And I don't maybe have some insight on that more than I do, but I know that they were working on that. And like I said, I did meet with Mike and Greg last week out there to address that, because like I said, I've been out there and I heard that's an issue. And like the gentleman tonight, with all the holes, there's holes all over, those are from the dogs. It's not like, well, they just showed up. Those are from the dogs making that mess out there. So that's another reason to keep them contained to a certain area. But turf care is an issue on off-leash parks. Everywhere I've read, that's one of the big issues. Currently, we don't have money, you're right, budgeted for that, like an annual thing. And I don't know what it's gonna cost, but Greg came up, he said this is what we could do, a catch basin in the one pond, I call it a pond, right? That's where it's, I mean, you could look right now, there's like a pond out there. He talked about a catch basin might go in there, and easy drain. I mean, when we went out there, it was like a little whitewater rapid just flowing out to the lake right there.
It's always right there.
Yeah, so it's a natural drain anyway, so it's not gonna take much to get it to flow the rest of the way. But he talked about putting a catch basin in there and then sanding the whole park and then reseeding. And that way the dogs, like I was worried, no, does that mean the dogs can't go on there for 3 months or 6 months? And he said, no, but we could do that, the dogs could still utilize it and stuff like that. But it does have to be done a couple times. But I haven't got the numbers yet. I don't know if you've got anything.
Got it this afternoon, 25.5.
25.5? So $26,000.
And that's some material, right, they're gonna use their tractors and all that.
Yeah, it's in-house. and that
Sand
was-
alone was 15 grand.
Yeah,
It's hard, it's such a low point, and we have so many buildings now that it's the only water can it's just gonna go there, right? So it's a hard problem to solve.
Yeah, that whole space is.
Yeah, the whole
It's
thing
lost
is
in
There is a lake
Yeah.
level.
So that's part of the
Yeah,
overall
exactly,
plan that we were
yeah.
thinking, that it does need to be, we want it to be an improvement. And I don't know that everything will happen this year, right? The idea was let's work on things and get certain things done, and it might be phase 1 and phase 2, and that's why more talk or surveys can go into certain things maybe they don't want to
That's
worship
great.
it, or they want, who knows, but that's the idea. So I understand what you're saying though, but yeah, and maintenance, right? How are we gonna do that? We did put an 8-foot gate in there, so they can get equipment in and out. We thought of that, so that way they can get in there and maintain that better. But you're right, all dog parks seem to turn to mud at some point, My son has a property, he leases out, and he has, the people have 2 dogs there, and I had to go over there to undo the bottom of the house. And the backyard that I used to mow last year, every week was beautiful, and they have 2 dogs, and it's destroyed. You can see exactly where the dogs run. It's just mud now. And so I took a picture and sent it to him. He's like, "Why'd you do that?" I don't want to see that. But anyways, let me get back to reading the motion on here, and we'll move on unless someone else had an additional question. Sorry, I went on there. All right, the motion is moved that the SVCA Board of Directors approve $22,378.46 from SURF for the purchase of the club car carry-all, the Par West picking unit, and the range servant ball washer.
Second.
Thank you, Linda. All in favor? That's unanimous. Okay, moving on to our last one's a capital request for the Marina security upgrade, page 41.
So the purpose of this memo is to request board approval of funding for a proposed upgrade to Sun Valley's marina security system. Sun Valley's current marina security system includes 10 cameras that stream video 24/7 and store video for reference. The amount that they can store, everybody asks me this, it's 30 to 50 days, and the reason there's so much variance in that number is because the more motion that there is, the more storage space is taken up.
That's a long time, actually.
That's a very long time, yeah. 5 of the 10 cameras are located on a pole that's powered through PoE, which stands for Power over Ethernet, and it's delivered to that pole by buried Ethernet cable. This is an older technology, and it does not deliver enough power to support the more modern devices that use cell or Wi-Fi signals to transmit data. This situation results in the cameras going offline frequently, several times a week, which effectively makes them useless. The only way to get them back online is to go down there physically and reboot them. To fix the problem with the Marina security cameras, we propose to relocate an existing security pole, supply it with electricity, and install 2 new cameras. One of the cameras gives an enhanced 180-degree view, like a panoramic view of the marina, and the cameras are remote controlled so that you can zoom in if something is happening. The second camera is a specialized unit that captures license plates.
Yeah.
Allowing us to identify cars associated with acts of vandalism.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Like doing donuts in the gravel.
Yeah, the camera's smart. It's a smart camera. It locates the location of the plate and then zooms in on it too.
awesome.
Even in the dark?
It can do it in the dark. I have no idea how. It must be a cat in there. Because it's smart and it's stealthy. You can see in the dark. Anyway, the table below shows the budget estimates for the project. It's not cheap. Relocation of the security pole and trenching for the electric. We would use one of our on-call contractors to provide that service. It's estimated at $44.65. The electrical work, we have a quote from Dillon Electric, who does a great deal of work for us. That's $2,300. Installation of 2 new cameras from Guardian Security, a whopping $10,990.93. When you add tax, the total is $19,318.45. So technology comes at a significant price. It's a cool camera, but it's not cheap.
Yeah.
But we are replacing 5 cameras with 2. So
So do they like move around?
Yeah.
Oh, they do.
yeah. The license plate one does.
Okay.
The panoramic one is like,
That sees everything.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
the 2026 capital budget for SURF includes $32,621 for the replacement of our radio system. It's used by maintenance mostly. Security used it in the past, and I'm looking at ways to get security to use it again, so they're always in contact with us. But at the current moment, it works just fine. So Mike and others who have looked at it have suggested that it does not need to be replaced. We propose to use just a portion of those funds, the 19,318, it would come out of that 32,621, and to pay for the current security upgrade or the proposed upgrade. So I request that the Board of Directors approve $19,318.45 from SURF for the proposed upgrade to the Marina security system.
And I'll leave that balance left for radios.
Correct. I'll carry forward.
Any questions on this? Daniel?
Yeah, do we have a plan how we're gonna use this? Is this gonna be monitored in any way, or is it gonna be just, we have evidence of something that else happens that we hear about?
We use it in two ways. The security guards, when they're not on patrol, check the cameras. And then they can respond quickly to something. If we're aware of an incident after the fact, for example, if security is on a patrol and sees vandalism, which did happen in 2023 or early 2024, security sent me pictures one morning of graffiti tags that had been sprayed on a bunch of things in the marina and near AMPM Beach. They then used the camera footage at the time to identify someone who had a hoodie on, so they couldn't see the face, but we knew exactly what the person was wearing. And then our daytime security guard, who's actually quite a competent fellow, he did all that research on the video, and he found the young man who had done it. And Sudden Valley was able to use the video evidence to show his parents, and they were actually very grateful that we worked with them. They reimbursed us for the repairs. So the cameras work, and they work in those two ways. They alert us to things when security isn't out patrolling, which is actually costly, and if they're all the way up at gate 5, they might not be able to respond to something happening in the marina. So it's a good balance to spend some time centrally located and looking at the cameras. So sometimes that works, and then we often have recourse to the video when something happens and we want to do research.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the marina, I know there was a trailer stolen a couple of years ago, and then last year a boat somebody slashed the side of it and went in and took stuff out of the boat. And unfortunately the cameras were, couldn't get good enough quality of pictures.
Yeah, we had a couple batteries and few full tanks of gas stolen last year.
It'll be nice when you see
There's
the
been
change.
jet skis stolen out
How
of
well
the past.
do these see at night, these cameras?
You can see the license plate. That camera is enabled to work at low light, plus the cars are lit, right, too, and they provide some light over the license plate. But they're state-of-the-art, they're amazing in the
So
dark.
the 361, can that see at night also, or the license plate?
You can see the terrain, you can see if people are moving on the terrain, you can see where they're located. You can't pick out their facial features, no.
There's nothing out there that can pick something up. I guess just so you know, so the concern, I think that almost everybody on, you can correct me if I'm wrong, finance committee is that this is a good start, but I guess everybody wants to make sure that we've got good enough cameras, and if something should happen, we can really identify, hopefully, who's doing it. Or have some sort of clear enough picture to be able to identify.
A lot of it is dependent on available light, if there's a moonlit night and.
Right, so one of the options is, can we put in additional maybe down lighting that's not real bright that can help pick up some of the.
Yeah, of course we could do that. It'd be very expensive. Hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the big lights and to put them in all the places that we
Not the
want.
big lights, but just some down lighting that can help with the light.
The expense is trenching, and and you can see here the cost for a single pole that we're repurposing. So Yeah, of course, we can do almost anything, it's just that we don't have unlimited
Budget,
funds.
yeah, just,
It's a good start, it's a good start.
It's a good start, yeah, I think that's what was
timing.
decided.
I guess
Oh, and
I'm,
Linda, sorry.
No.
and I'm just gonna say, you know, if it's, you know, give it a try and maybe it'll do a great job. You know, see how it works.
It's gotta be better than what we got, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Linda,
Just quick thing, why did we do away, or what was there's this bullet camera that we nixed from the project? Do you know anything, Joanne, about why they nixed it, or?
I know that Mike Brock and Spencer, our IT guy, and Guardian spent a significant amount of time down there debating what they would propose. And they went back and forth a couple of times about where the pole should be located until they finalized this. So I'm taking the advice of,
Okay, that's fine.
The guys
The
over
only
there.
other thing I would say is when you get ready to do this contract, on the final page, it's still for the $12,629, and you should change it to the $10,990.
Okay.
That's all.
alright, so I'm gonna read the motion now. Alright, the motion is, I move that the SBCA Board of Directors approve $19,318.45 from STIR for the proposed upgrade to the Marina security system.
Second that.
Thank you, Tom. All in favor? That is unanimous. Thank you guys very much. I'd like to make a motion to adjourn at 9:06 p.m.
Yeah,
Second.
yeah. Go.
That was Linda.
Spend a little bit of money.